So the way that you run a transaction in Objectify is that you call offie.transact at the start of the transaction and you specify new work. And if you don't want the transaction to return anything, then you would use new void work instead of work. And then you call the run method, and then inside the run method you do the stuff that you want done inside the transaction. And if your transaction expects a return result, don't forget to return it. There are some things that are different about transactions in Objectify and in the raw Java Data Store API. For example, Objectify does not use snapshot isolation. This can affect the outcome of queries and gets inside a transaction. My advice is to try to limit your use of transactions so that you only do updates inside a transaction, because it can be confusing to know exactly what the outcome of queries will be. Anyway, I encourage you to read about transactions in the Objectify Developer Guide. So go ahead and implement the to-dos in Register for Conference. And when you've implemented the function, run the app on localhost and try registering for a conference. You could use the API's Explorer to test out the new functionality to register for a conference. I find it's easiest to query conferences and then to copy one of the WebSafe key strings of the conference that I'm going to want to attend. Now I can go and register for the conference. You have to have the WebSafe key string. So I'm going to enter it here, then I'm going to execute the function, and we'll see what we got back. Result, true. So hopefully that means I am in fact registered for that conference. Let's take a look in the Data Store admin. I'm on localhost, so I'm going to go to the admin console on localhost and list the profiles. And there I am, and I'm registered for a conference. You can see that I can't tell from here what the name of the conference is, but programmatically you can take the conference key, and from that you could define the conference name if you wanted to. You should also find that the UI works for registering for a conference, and you see that it says that you can unregister from a conference. Well, actually it won't work to unregister from a conference because you haven't yet implemented the functionality to do that. So now it's your turn to go ahead and write the code to implement and register for conference. So the profile class needs to have the conference keys to attend property, and you're also going to need to write the methods to get, add and remove values. And then you're going to need to copy the skeleton code for register for conference into conference API, and then fill in the to-dos in register for conference in the conference API class. Don't forget, when you copy over the register for conference skeleton, you're going to need to make sure you also copy over the wrapped boolean class. When you implement register for conference, you'll notice that the method is defined to throw some exceptions, and you need to honor that. If you change the way the method behaves, for example, you change the exceptions that it throws, or it throws different exceptions, or it doesn't throw them in the right place, the UI for registering for conferences won't work properly. And then to check what happens when you try to register for a conference that has no seats available, just create a conference with 0 seats left. The easiest way to create a conference with 0 seats left is that when you create the conference, just set max attendees to 0. If you want to see what happens if you try to register for a conference that you've already registered for, you'll need to use the API's Explorer, because the conference page in the UI will know if you've already registered and won't offer you the option to register again. So how did you check that your code worked? Did you check that the conference keys to attend property of the profile entity contains a string of the conference key? Or did you look to see if the conference keys to attend property of the profile contains the conference name? Did you check if the seats available of the conference is one less than the max attendees of the conference? And did you try registering for a conference that you had created?